is a crisis extinction level event that people look up in the sky, those who even bother to look up in the sky, but they don't get the ramifications.
For many that are just looking into this, it's a mistake to try to put this issue into one or two categories. So many layers to this onion.
The entire Earth's weather systems have been completely derailed, modified, engineered, messed with, messed up, screwed up, and at this point there is no normal weather.
For those who don't take this seriously, they will soon. We have ecosystems collapsing around the globe right now. The crisis is not on the horizon, it's here now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that everybody's got to go back to the University of Geoengineering, and I'm serious about this.
The whole condensation trail narrative is a complete lie. These are sprayed particulate trails, not condensation, almost without exception. We should not see condensation, quote, condensation trails behind any of these commercial aircraft and or military tankers. They all are fitted with high bypass turbofan jet engines. These engines are a jet-powered fan. 80 to 85% of the air that passes through these engines is non-combusted. By design, they are nearly incapable of making any condensation trail. And we have the film footage to prove even these short, bright trails are particulate dispersions. We have film of these trails being turned on and off. We have film footage of military tankers, KC-10s, KC-135s, C-17 Globemasters. We have up-close photographs of these nozzles on commercial aircraft, retrofitted nozzles mounted on the pylons directly behind the jet engines in line with the engine exhaust so that it looks like, quote, condensation trail. And this is in line with Project Cloverleaf, which is the use of commercial carriers for these programs. When you have film footage of the crime happening, that's the end of the argument.
People have got to get it. This is their life. This is not a scientific treatise on arguing the points of geoengineering. It's gone on. It's going on. You can read all the patents. The patents are more dire than the events that people really even begin to grasp. I want to give everyone a feel for this. In 1951, do you think Dane is on a wild goose chase? Listen to this patent, okay? It's U.S. patent number 2550324A. And this is fascinating because a patent is process for controlling weather. This invention relates to a process for affecting changes in weather conditions, and more specifically to a process for dissipating clouds and fog by clearing the atmosphere of moisture particles that are large enough to be visible, yet not large enough to fall out of suspension in the gases of the atmosphere. The overall object, the present invention, is directed to the control of weather conditions generally.
Depending on the application of the climate engineers, we might see different metals. We might see more lead and copper in the ice nucleated material, as opposed to more aluminum and barium in the usual solar radiation management mix. So there's a lot of variations, but all these toxic metals are harmful. You mix them together, it's more harmful still. A very lethal brew. Whether people want to face it or not, or believe it or not, their health is being affected, every single one of them.
When you use the term geoengineering, we're dealing with weather warfare, and it is the most widely used covert weapon of the power structure.
There's nothing benevolent in these programs. It's about power and control. It's about DARPA weapons ionizing the atmosphere for over-the-horizon radar, for EMP purposes, electromagnetic pulse purposes. It's used for a tool to introduce weather warfare, to use that type of manipulation, control the population's food supply, but it's also used to hide the gravity of the climate feedback mechanisms that are now unfolding, which climate engineering helped to trigger in the first place. So many layers to the onion, none of them for the common good. It's important for us to remember the vast majority of military people, good men and women in the military, that are there for honorable reasons are not being told the truth. They're being told what they're participating in with these aerosol operations for the common good. We need to reach them so they wake up. That's a methane blowhole. That's from massive methane explosion out of the ground. These craters are surfacing everywhere. It's happening on the seafloor. Methane is flooding the atmosphere as we speak. They are trying to cover up the Arctic methane situation right now in the imploding Arctic sea ice. And by the way, there's enough methane in the Arctic to create mathematically a Permian-style mass extinction 1,000 times over. There's enough to kill us all many, many times over. It's releasing now. If it continues, it's game over.
Now, let's address, too, the ozone layer. The ozone layer is being torn apart by climate engineering, and it's tattered.
When you put particulates in the atmosphere, it doesn't matter whether those particulates come from the back of an aircraft or from a volcano. Particulates in the atmosphere damage ozone, period. The more they have tampered with the system, the greater the damage that's been done, and thus the more damage they do, the more they justify spraying to try to provide a shield, if you will, for the damage already done. We're measuring UV on the ground. I have expensive UV meters. And we're seeing, in the case of UVB, we're seeing levels 55 to 60% of the total UV. We're told it should be no more than 5%. So that means it's from 1,000 to 1,200% higher than we're being told. This is astronomically high. It's burning the bark off of trees. It's destroying tree foliage, and it's killing plankton. The plankton can't take this level of UV. The plankton populations globally are down now about 50 to 60%, and plankton supplies over 50% of Earth's oxygen content.
I believe it's a prophetic fulfillment of a third of the life in the sea dying.
In the last 40 years alone, statistically, human populations have doubled. Global wildlife populations have declined by nearly 60%. We're losing 200 to 300 species of plant, animal, and insect every single day. We're in the 6th great mass extinction right now, today. The species extinction rate is 10 to 15,000 times background rates. Statistically, that's a virtual free fall. If we stay on this course, near-term human extinction is a mathematical certainty. And I mean near-term to a degree that few are yet willing to comprehend.
In order to overcome normalcy bias, emotional shutdown, scientific jargonism, the lies flying out of the what I call paid whore scientific community, all of those things can only be overcome if a person really wants to seek the truth.
People are finally, thankfully, beginning to understand the gravity of having Earth's life support systems completely derailed from top to bottom. We are really most effective in this battle by using the science terms so that when people who are unfamiliar with this issue go to search online, they come to hard science. If we stick to solar radiation management, stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, climate engineering is a great term that people can understand. That's very clear.
Climate engineering programs are contaminating every breath we take and the entire web of life. Every breath we take.